Welcome back for another deep dive.
Always exciting.
This time, we're tackling a topic that I think hits close to home for a lot of people,
Yeah,
depression.
the big one.
And we'll be drawing from WebMD's Depression Resource Center for this one.
Great resource.
Yeah, and I do want to start off by saying that if you're out there and you're struggling, please don't hesitate to reach out for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are people who care and resources available.
So important.
So today what we want to try and do is, I guess, kind of unpack this idea of depression, like what it is, how to spot it, and what can be done,
Absolutely.
all without, getting too bogged down in all the jargon.
Right, yeah, make it accessible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So first off, like when we say depression, most people I think just immediately think of sadness.
Right.
But is it really that simple?
That's where we need to make a distinction between just feeling sad and having clinical depression.
Okay.
WebMD really emphasizes that sadness is a normal part of life.
Yeah, for sure.
It's an emotion we all experience, but depression, that's a mood disorder.
Okay.
What sets it apart is this persistent nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a fleeting feeling.
Yeah.
It lingers for weeks,
Mm.
months, and it really starts to impact your daily life.
So it's not something you can just like snap out of.
No, it's not a matter of willpower. It's something deeper than that.
Okay, so then how do we know
Right.
if what we're feeling is just like, a rough patch or if
Mhm.
it's something more serious?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to answer.
Okay.
Persistent sadness, like we talked about, that's a key symptom.
Mm-hmm.
But depression can actually manifest in a lot of different ways.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Some people experience more physical symptoms.
Oh, wow.
Things like fatigue, unexplained aches and pains, even trouble sleeping.
Huh. I wouldn't have thought of those.
Right. And that's why it can be so tricky,
Yeah.
because those symptoms could easily be mistaken for something else entirely.
Oh, okay. So it could be kind of sneaky then.
It really can be. WebMD actually uses this term, depression disguises,
Okay.
because some of the symptoms, things like irritability or having trouble concentrating,
Mm-hmm.
they can be so subtle that they fly under the radar.
Wow, that's kind of scary.
It is. And it really highlights the importance of, paying attention to changes in our mood and behavior
Yeah.
and not just dismissing them as, oh, it's just stress or I'm just overworked.
Right, right.
It could be something more.
So you've mentioned that it can manifest in different ways. Makes me wonder, like, what actually causes it in the first place?
Right.
Is it one single thing or is it more complicated?
It's definitely more complicated than just a single cause.
Oh, okay.
In fact,
Yeah.
WebMD specifically states that there's no one thing that causes depression.
Mm-hmm.
It's often a combination of factors.
Okay.
So let's imagine someone who has a genetic predisposition to depression, meaning it runs in their family.
Right.
Now, this person may go through life without ever actually experiencing a depressive episode. But then a major life event happens, like a job loss, a divorce, the death of a loved one.
Right.
And suddenly, that genetic predisposition combined with the stress of the event,
Yeah.
it acts as a trigger.
Oh, so it's like a perfect storm, kind of?
That's a great way to put it.
Wow.
And here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Did you know that certain medications can actually cause depression as a side effect?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's true.
I had no idea.
And it's something a lot of people aren't aware of.
Wow.
So if you notice, significant changes in your mood after starting a new medication, don't hesitate to bring it up with your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to be your own health advocate.
Right. Advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
Knowledge is power, right?
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to our health.
Couldn't agree more.
So now that we have a bit of a better grasp on what depression is, what can cause it,
Yeah.
let's talk about treatment.
Right.
Is there a cure for depression? Or is it something that people just have to learn to live with?
That's a great question, and it's one that I hear a lot.
Yeah.
The good news is that effective treatments do exist.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. WebMD outlines a range of approaches, from therapy and medication to lifestyle changes.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit.
Sure.
When it comes to medication, I think a lot of people immediately think of antidepressants,
Right.
but there's a lot of stigma around those too, right?
Absolutely. There are concerns about side effects,
Yeah.
the idea of becoming dependent on medication. And some people feel like antidepressants just mask the problem rather than actually addressing the root cause.
Right.
But the reality is that for many people, antidepressants can be life-changing.
Okay.
They provide relief from debilitating symptoms.
So it's not like they just make you happy all the time.
No, no, that's a common misconception.
Okay.
Antidepressants work by helping to rebalance chemicals in the brain that are involved in regulating mood. It's not about erasing emotions. It's about helping people regain a sense of balance and control.
So it's like giving your brain the support it needs to function properly.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that there are many different types of antidepressants.
Right.
So finding the right one for an individual can take some trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
But when you find one that works, it can make a world of difference.
WebMD mentioned these newer antipsychotics like Rexulti and Vraylar
Oh, yes.
that can target depression.
They're really interesting.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about them is they offer the potential for fewer side effects
Oh, wow.
compared to some of the older antidepressants.
Okay.
And that's huge because side effects are a major reason why people stop taking their medication.
Right. Even if it is helping.
Exactly. So these newer options could really make a difference in terms of treatment adherence
Mm-hmm.
and even reducing the stigma surrounding medication.
That's promising.
It's exciting to see these advancements in mental health treatment.
Yeah, it seems like the field is constantly evolving, finding new ways to help people.
Absolutely. Research is ongoing and new discoveries are being made all the time.
So it sounds like medication is just one piece of the puzzle, though.
Right. It's not a standalone solution in most cases.
What other treatment options are out there?
Well, therapy is often a crucial component of treatment.
Okay.
Talking to a therapist can help you develop coping mechanisms,
Mm.
address underlying issues that may be contributing to your depression,
Mm-hmm.
and build resilience so you're better equipped to handle life's challenges.
So it's a more holistic approach then.
Exactly, addressing both the chemical and the emotional aspects of depression.
Okay. And I imagine there are different types of therapy as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are many different approaches, each with its own unique focus.
Mm-hmm.
Some therapies, like psychodynamic therapy, focus on exploring past experiences and how they might be influencing your current thoughts and behaviors.
Okay.
Others, like cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
focus on identifying and changing negative thought patterns that contribute to depression.
Right. So it's like having a toolkit of different strategies.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, and you and your therapist kind of work together to figure out which tools are right for you.
Exactly. It's about finding what works best for each individual.
So we've talked about therapy and medication, but what about lifestyle changes?
Right.
Can those play a role in managing depression?
Absolutely. WebMD really emphasizes the importance of self-care.
Okay.
And that includes things like regular exercise,
Yeah.
a healthy diet, getting enough sleep,
Yeah.
and finding healthy ways to manage stress.
It sounds like it really comes down to taking care of your overall well-being.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
When you take care of yourself physically, it has a positive ripple effect on your mental health as well.
So mind and body are connected.
Exactly. They're not separate entities.
It seems like managing depression is an ongoing process, even after that initial treatment phase.
Right.
So what about long-term care?
Yeah, that's a crucial question.
Yeah.
WebMD talks about this concept of maintenance treatment,
Okay.
which basically means continuing treatment even after you start to feel better.
Okay.
And this is especially important for people who have chronic or recurring depression.
So it's not necessarily a cure then, but more like a way to keep things under control.
That's a good way to think about it. For
Yeah.
some people, ongoing therapy or medication might be necessary to prevent relapses,
Right.
while for others, focusing on healthy habits and building a strong support system can be enough to maintain stability.
Mm-hmm. So it really varies from person to person.
It does. Everyone's journey is unique.
It sounds like it takes a lot of self-awareness and proactive effort.
It does. But the good news is that with the right tools and support,
Yeah,
it's definitely possible to live a full and meaningful life, even with depression.
that's encouraging to hear.
It is. There's hope and there's help available.
That's great.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of the responsibility falls on the person dealing with depression. But what about the role of, friends and family?
Right.
What can they do to support someone who's going through this?
That's such an important question.
Yeah.
And actually, WebMD has a whole section dedicated to advice for caregivers and friends of people with depression.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They stress that understanding and empathy are absolutely crucial.
Oh, okay.
It's about recognizing that depression isn't a weakness
Mm-hmm.
and offering genuine support.
So what does that support actually look like?
Yeah.
Like, what are some tangible things that friends and family can do?
Well, practical help can make a big difference.
Okay.
Offering to help with everyday tasks
Mm-hmm.
like cooking, cleaning, running errands.
Yeah,
These things can really ease the burden on someone who's struggling.
right. Just taking some of that weight off.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
sometimes just being there to listen without judgment can be incredibly valuable.
Yeah, just that sense of being heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And encouraging them to seek professional help is important too.
Mhm.
But it's key to avoid being pushy or judgmental.
Right. It's a delicate balance.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about offering support without taking over.
It's got to be tough on loved ones, too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not always easy to understand what someone with depression is going through.
that's true. And WebMD acknowledges that caring for someone with depression can be emotionally draining.
Right.
Caregivers need to prioritize their own well-being as well
Yeah.
and set
You
boundaries.
can't pour from an empty cup, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
WebMD also suggests seeking out support groups or even therapy for themselves.
Oh, wow.
Remember, supporting someone with depression is a team effort.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So we've been talking a lot about major depressive disorder,
right.
but WebMD mentions that there are other types of depression too, right?
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
There's persistent depressive disorder, which used to be called dysthymia.
Okay.
It's a milder form of depression, but it can last for years. Yeah, imagine someone who just always feels a bit down, lacking energy and motivation.
Mm-hmm.
They might not even realize they have a diagnosable condition because it's become their norm.
Right. It just blends into everyday life.
Precisely.
Wow.
And then there's seasonal affective disorder, or SAD,
Oh, yeah.
which is linked to the change in seasons.
The winter blues.
Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely feel that sometimes.
Right.
But is it really considered a type of depression?
It is.
Oh, wow.
And while it might sound less serious,
Right.
it can significantly impact mood, energy, and daily functioning.
So even though it's tied to the seasons, it's still important to take it seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and seek treatment if needed.
Right.
And then what about, I think WebMD also mentioned bipolar disorder?
Yes, bipolar disorder is characterized by shifts between periods of depression and periods of mania,
Okay.
which extreme highs.
So it's really important to get an accurate diagnosis.
It is absolutely crucial.
Because the treatment for bipolar disorder is going to be different from the treatment for major depressive disorder.
Exactly. Self-diagnosis is never a good idea.
Right.
It's important to consult with a mental health professional to get a proper assessment and personalized treatment plan.
And speaking of finding a doctor or a therapist,
Yes.
WebMD suggests that a good first step is talking to your primary care physician.
That's a great starting point.
Okay.
Your primary care physician can assess your situation and refer you to specialists if needed.
Right. Okay.
They also recommend taking the time to find a therapist you really connect with.
Okay.
It's about feeling comfortable and understood, just like any important relationship.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Building a strong therapeutic relationship is key to successful treatment.
So WebMD also talked about this idea of treatment-resistant depression. What exactly does that mean?
Treatment-resistant depression, or TRD, refers to cases where traditional treatments like therapy and medication haven't been effective.
Oh, so what happens then?
Right.
What options are available for those individuals?
That's where things can get a bit more complex.
Okay.
WebMD highlights some high-tech treatments
Okay.
like transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS,
Okay.
and electroconvulsive therapy, or ECT.
Okay, so TMS that uses magnetic pulses to stimulate specific areas of the brain.
Right. And while it sounds futuristic,
It does.
it's actually a non-invasive procedure.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That sounds much less intimidating than ECT,
Right.
which I know involves inducing a seizure.
Yeah, ECT can be an effective treatment for severe or treatment-resistant depression,
Okay.
but it's generally considered a last resort after other options have been exhausted.
It seems like there's still so much that we don't know about the brain
There is.
and how to effectively treat mental illness.
Absolutely.
Right.
But the exciting thing is that research is ongoing
Mm-hmm.
and new treatments are being developed all the time.
Sure.
The field of mental health is constantly evolving, and that gives us hope for even more effective and personalized treatments in the future.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
It is.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
You know, we've explored different types of depression, talked about treatment options,
Right.
and looked at the important role of support systems.
Yeah.
And through all of this, it's important to remember that WebMD repeatedly emphasizes one crucial message.
And what's that?
Recovery is possible.
Yes. That's such a powerful message,
Yeah.
especially for those who might be feeling hopeless right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
While living with depression can be incredibly challenging, it's not a life sentence.
Right.
With the right treatment support and self-care,
Mm-hmm.
people can manage their symptoms and live full, meaningful lives.
Hearing that recovery is possible is really encouraging,
It is.
but I imagine the journey isn't always easy.
Right.
Are there setbacks along the way?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Recovery from depression, it isn't always linear. WebMD talks about the possibility of relapses,
Okay.
which means experiencing those depressive symptoms again, even after a period of feeling better.
So what typically triggers these relapses?
Well, it varies from person to person,
Sure.
but some common triggers include major life changes, stress,
Mm-hmm.
disruptions in sleep or routine, or even changes in medication.
So being aware of those potential triggers is a big part of managing depression long term.
It is. It's about being proactive and recognizing those vulnerabilities.
So WebMD suggested creating a relapse prevention plan.
Yes.
What would that look like?
Well, it could include strategies for managing stress, like mindfulness techniques or exercise.
Okay.
It could also involve maintaining a consistent sleep schedule and a healthy diet, because those can have a big impact on mood.
Right.
And it's also about learning to recognize those early warning signs of a potential relapse, so
Okay.
you can take action before things spiral.
This is kind of like having a fire escape plan.
Exactly.
You might not ever need it, but it's good to be prepared just in case.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And just like with a fire escape plan, it's important to practice and review your relapse prevention plan regularly,
Okay.
so you know what to do if those warning signs appear.
So if you do have a relapse, it's not a failure.
Right.
It's just a sign that maybe you need some extra support.
Exactly. Recovery from depression is a journey,
Mm-hmm.
and there will likely be bumps along the road.
Yeah.
The important thing is to remember that you're not alone
Mm.
and to reach out for help when you need it.
Like learning to ride a bike, you might fall a few times.
Yeah.
But with practice and perseverance,
Mhm.
you'll eventually get the hang of it.
I love that analogy.
Mm.
It highlights the importance of patience and self-compassion
Yeah.
throughout the recovery process.
And there's a whole network of support out there.
There is?
You know, we've talked about therapy, medication support groups,
Mm-hmm.
but there are also online resources, helplines, even apps,
Oh, yeah.
specifically for managing depression.
Technology can be a great tool.
Yeah. WebMD had some links to some great organizations.
Like NAMI and DBSA
Wonderful resources.
that offer a lot of support.
They do.
Connecting with others who understand what you're going through
Right.
can make such a difference.
They can have.
Sharing experiences, tips, encouragement
Mm-hmm.
really creates a sense of community.
It does. It's like having a group of fellow travelers on this journey called life.
I like that.
Yeah.
And you're not alone in this.
No, you're not.
Millions of people around the world experience depression.
That's true.
And with the right support, recovery is absolutely possible.
It is.
This deep dive has been incredibly informative.
It has been a great discussion.
We've really, gone deep into understanding depression,
Mm-hmm.
exploring the different types, causes,
Right.
and most importantly, highlighting that hope for recovery.
Absolutely.
Depression is complex,
It is.
but it's not an insurmountable obstacle.
No, it's not.
With the right tools, resources, support,
Mm-hmm.
individuals can manage their symptoms and live fulfilling lives.
We encourage you to check out WebMD's Depression Resource Center.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, a treasure trove of information.
Mhm.
And remember, if you're struggling, don't hesitate to reach out to a mental health professional.
Yes, please do.
Asking for help is a sign of strength.
Yes.
And prioritizing your mental health, it's
Yeah.
one of the most important investments you can make in yourself.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of depression.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful, and we hope you leave feeling more informed, empowered, and hopeful.
Yes, that's what we want.
Until next time, take care and be well.